Beneath the towering pines and sprawling redwoods of the American West lies a world steeped in mystery, where ancient trees whisper secrets to those who dare to listen. These forests, vast and untamed, have long been revered for their natural beauty and rugged wilderness. Yet, hidden within their shadowy depths are stories that defy explanation, tales of spectral apparitions, eerie phenomena, and lingering spirits that refuse to fade into oblivion. Welcome back to our haunted storytelling series, where we delve into the unknown, and today, we journey deeper into Episode 2, The Most Haunted Forests in the American West. Forests have always held a unique place in human imagination, a liminal space between civilization and the wild, light and shadow, life and death. In these sacred groves, time seems to stand still, and the boundary between reality and the supernatural blurs. The American West, with its dramatic landscapes and rich history, is home to some of the most enigmatic and haunting woodlands in the world. From the mist-shrouded canopies of Oregon's coastal rainforests to the arid juniper-studded hills of New Mexico, each forest carries its own dark legacy, shaped by centuries of tragedy, folklore, and unexplained encounters. In this episode, we'll peel back the layers of these haunted woods, uncovering the chilling tales that have earned them their sinister reputations. We'll tread cautiously through the Black Forest of Colorado, where miners once vanished without a trace, explore the eerie silence of California's suicide woods, where despair lingers like a heavy fog, and venture into the shadowy heart of Montana's whispering pines, where voices from the past echo through the trees. Along the way, we'll hear first-hand accounts from hikers, campers, and paranormal investigators who have braved these haunted forests, and lived to tell their harrowing stories. But beware, these woods are not merely settings for ghostly tales. They are living entities, imbued with the energy of those who came before. Every rustling leaf, every snapping twig, every sudden gust of wind could be a sign that you're not alone. As we step into the shadows of these haunted forests, prepare yourself for an exploration of both the seen and the unseen. This isn't just another ghost story, it's a descent into a realm where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the spirits of those lost to time continue to roam, waiting for someone brave enough to hear their cries. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and let us guide you through the haunting legacy of the American West's most infamous forests. Are you ready to face what lies beyond the veil? The Black Forest, where shadows devour light. Nestled deep within the Rocky Mountains of Colorado lies the Black Forest, a sprawling expanse of dense pine and aspen groves that has earned its ominous moniker through centuries of tragedy and unexplained disappearances. Unlike other forests celebrated for their serene beauty, the Black Forest casts an aura of foreboding even during daylight hours. Its thick canopy blocks out much of the sun, plunging visitors into perpetual twilight, while jagged rock formations jut ominously from the underbrush. Locals speak of it in hushed tones, warning travelers to stay clear after sunset, lest they become one of the countless souls swallowed whole by its suffocating darkness. The forest's haunted reputation dates back to the late 19th century, when prospectors flocked to the region in search of gold and silver. What began as a hopeful endeavor soon descended into chaos, as miners reported strange occurrences deep within the woods. Tools would vanish overnight, only to reappear miles away in inexplicable locations. Campfires extinguished themselves without wind, plunging workers into impenetrable blackness. Worst of all were the disappearances, men who entered the forest never to return, leaving behind only cryptic messages scrawled on tree trunks or whispered warnings echoing faintly through the pines. One particularly chilling account involves a group of 5 miners who set out to explore a newly discovered vein. Only 3 emerged days later, delirious and muttering about shadow people that stalked them relentlessly, driving 2 of their companions to madness before dragging them into the abyss. Modern-day visitors recount equally unsettling experiences. Hikers describe feeling an overwhelming sense of being watched, even in areas devoid of wildlife. Eyes seem to glimmer faintly among the trees, disappearing when approached. Others report hearing footsteps crunching leaves and twigs nearby, despite there being no visible source. A recurring phenomenon is the sudden appearance of cold spots, areas where the temperature plummets dramatically, accompanied by an oppressive weight that makes breathing difficult. Paranormal investigators armed with thermal cameras have captured significant drops in temperature concentrated around specific trees, suggesting residual energy tied to past tragedies. One of the most infamous landmarks within the Black Forest is Widow's Hollow, a secluded clearing rumored to be cursed. According to legend, a young bride named Abigail Carter ventured into the woods on her wedding night in 1893, seeking solitude after a heated argument with her husband. She was found weeks later, her body entangled in roots at the base of an ancient oak. Since then, couples who visit the hollow claim to hear faint sobbing and see glimpses of a veiled figure wandering aimlessly. Some swear they've felt hands tugging at their clothing, urging them to leave immediately. Another disturbing feature of the Black Forest is the so-called Whispering Trail, a narrow path winding through particularly dense foliage. Visitors walking this trail often report hearing indistinct voices murmuring in languages unfamiliar to them. These whispers grow louder and more insistent the deeper one ventures, culminating in a cacophony of overlapping sounds that drown out all else. Many turn back in terror, unable to shake the feeling that unseen entities are closing in. One hiker described reaching a fork in the trail, only to find himself staring at his own reflection in a puddle. But something wasn't right. His doppelganger wore a look of sheer panic, mouthing words he couldn't understand before vanishing entirely. Despite, or perhaps because of, its terrifying reputation, the Black Forest continues to draw curious souls eager to test their courage against the unknown. Urban explorers, paranormal enthusiasts, and thrill-seekers descend into its depths, armed with flashlights, recording devices, and nerves of steel. Yet few emerge unscathed, their minds imprinted with visions and sensations too vivid to dismiss as mere imagination. For those brave enough to venture inside, the promise of encountering one of its tormented spirits offers both fascination and terror. But as each new visitor steps beneath its shadowy boughs, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to confront the horrors that lie within? Or will they become another chapter in the forest's macabre legacy? Suicide Woods, a grove of despair tucked away in northern California, shrouded by coastal fog and gnarled cypress trees, lies Suicide Woods, a name that sends chills down the spines of locals and outsiders alike. This desolate forest has earned its grim moniker through decades of tragic events, becoming synonymous with despair, loss, and the haunting echoes of those who chose to end their lives within its embrace. Unlike other haunted forests whose legends stem from external forces or malevolent spirits, Suicide Woods harbors a sorrow born of human pain, making it uniquely unsettling. Here, the air itself feels heavy with grief, and the silence is deafening, broken only by the mournful sigh of the wind weaving through the twisted branches. The origins of Suicide Woods' sinister reputation trace back to the mid-20th century, though whispers suggest its history stretches far earlier. Local lore tells of Native American tribes who once revered the land as sacred but warned against entering during certain lunar phases, claiming it was a place where sorrow pooled like water in a basin. It wasn't until the 1950s, however, that the forest gained widespread notoriety. During this time, a string of suicides occurred within its borders, each marked by eerie similarities. Victims left behind cryptic notes etched onto bark or scattered stones, their final words hinting at unseen tormentors urging them towards self-destruction. Law enforcement records show over 24 confirmed cases between 1953 and 1971 alone, though unofficial accounts suggest the number may be higher. Modern-day visitors describe an atmosphere unlike any other forest. The moment one crosses into Suicide Woods, a palpable shift occurs, an almost tangible weight presses down on the chest, accompanied by an acute awareness of isolation. Sounds distort unnaturally, birdsong fades, replaced by an oppressive quietude punctuated by occasional rustlings that seem to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. Hikers frequently report hearing faint sobs carried on the breeze, growing louder as they delve deeper into the woods. Some claim to see shadowy figures standing motionless among the trees, their faces obscured by veils of mist. When approached, these apparitions dissolve into nothingness, leaving behind only a lingering chill. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of Suicide Woods is the recurring phenomenon known as the pull. Countless witnesses describe feeling an inexplicable compulsion to move further into the forest, regardless of their initial intentions. This sensation begins subtly, a gentle tug at the edges of consciousness, but intensifies rapidly, morphing into an overwhelming urge to surrender to the wood's embrace. Psychologists speculate this could stem from environmental factors such as low-frequency sound waves emitted by the surrounding vegetation, which can induce feelings of dread and disorientation. However, survivors of the pull attribute it to something far darker, entities dwelling within the forest, feeding off despair and luring victims deeper into their domain. Paranormal investigators exploring suicide woods have captured compelling evidence supporting this theory. EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recordings reveal fragmented phrases like, "Stay with me," and "You belong here," delivered in tones ranging from soothing to menacing. Thermal imaging cameras detect significant temperature drops near specific trees, believed to mark spots where suicides took place. One investigator claimed to see a translucent figure hanging from a branch, its form swaying gently despite the absence of wind. Moments later, his equipment malfunctioned simultaneously, forcing him to retreat hastily. Adding to the forest's sinister allure are reports of physical manifestations linked to its haunting presence. Visitors often describe finding personal belongings rearranged upon returning to campsites, as if unseen hands had rifled through their gear. Others report waking up to discover scratch marks on their skin or clothing torn inexplicably. A particularly unnerving incident involved a group of college students conducting a biology survey. They swore they saw their tents collapse inward without cause, followed by a chorus of disembodied laughter echoing through the trees. Panicked, they fled the forest, abandoning their equipment in the process. Despite, or perhaps because of, its ominous reputation, Suicide Woods continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its malevolent energies. Urban explorers, mental health advocates, and paranormal enthusiasts descend into its depths, armed with cameras, journals, and questions about the nature of despair. Yet few emerge unscathed, their minds imprinted with visions and sensations too vivid to dismiss as mere imagination. For those brave enough to step inside, the possibility of encountering one of its tormented spirits offers both fascination and terror. But as each new visitor crosses its threshold, they must grapple with the knowledge that what awaits them may be more than they bargained for, a descent into madness, memory, and the unrelenting grip of the past. Whispering Pines, voices from beyond the trees deep within the rugged wilderness of Montana lies Whispering Pines, a forest steeped in mystery and spectral lore. Known locally as the forest that speaks, this sprawling woodland has captivated the imaginations of adventurers, historians, and paranormal investigators for generations. Unlike other haunted forests characterized by oppressive silence or eerie phenomena, Whispering Pines earns its name through an uncanny auditory phenomenon, the constant murmur of voices drifting through the trees. These whispers, faint yet unmistakable, seem to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once, creating an atmosphere both mesmerizing and deeply unsettling. To step into Whispering Pines is to enter a realm where the boundary between the living and the dead dissolves, and the spirits of those lost to time continue to communicate, their voices carried on the wind. The origins of Whispering Pines' haunting reputation are steeped in Native American folklore. Long before European settlers arrived, the land was considered sacred by the Salish Kootenai tribes, who believed it served as a gateway between the mortal world and the spirit realm. Elders spoke of ancestors gathering beneath the towering pines to share wisdom, their voices carried across the ages to guide future generations. Over time, however, the forest's roles shifted from sanctuary to sepulchre. Tragic events, ranging from skirmishes with settlers to outbreaks of disease, left countless lives cut short, their spirits said to linger among the trees. Oral traditions describe a chorus of the departed, whose collective murmurs could be heard by those attuned to the forest's energy. Modern interpretations of these legends suggest that Whispering Pines acts as a repository for unresolved emotions, amplifying the voices of those unable to find peace. Today, visitors to Whispering Pines report a kaleidoscope of auditory phenomena that defy logical explanation. The most common experience involves hearing faint, overlapping whispers that grow louder and clearer the deeper one ventures into the forest. These voices range from melodic chants to guttural mutterings, often speaking in languages unfamiliar to listeners. Some claim to recognize fragments of conversation, snippets of prayers, or even names called out plaintively into the void. One particularly striking account comes from a park ranger who swore he heard his deceased grandmother's voice calling him by his childhood nickname, a detail he had never shared with anyone. Shaken, he abandoned his post shortly thereafter, refusing to return. Paranormal investigators exploring Whispering Pines have documented numerous instances of EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, capturing chilling audio evidence of voices responding directly to questions posed aloud. Thermal cameras reveal significant temperature fluctuations near specific clusters of trees, believed to mark burial sites or areas of intense emotional trauma. During one overnight expedition, a team member reported seeing a translucent figure leaning against a pine trunk, its lips moving silently before fading into the shadows. Another investigator claimed to feel warm breath on her ear, accompanied by the distinct sensation of fingers tracing letters onto her palm. When she looked down, the word, "Listen," was etched faintly into her skin, adding to the forest's eerie allure are visual manifestations tied to its haunting presence. Witnesses described seeing shadowy figures darting between trees, their forms flickering like candle flames caught in a draft. Some claimed to glimpse glowing orbs hovering above the forest floor, pulsating rhythmically as though synchronized with the whispers. Others report encountering full-bodied apparitions clad in period clothing, their faces frozen in expressions of anguish or longing. A particularly unnerving sighting occurred when a group of hikers stumbled upon what appeared to be a funeral procession winding through the underbrush. Cloaked figures carried a coffin draped in black cloth, their steps silent despite the dry leaves crunching underfoot. As suddenly as they appeared, the procession vanished, leaving behind only an oppressive stillness. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunting reputation, Whispering Pines continues to draw curious souls eager to confront its enigmatic energies. Spiritual seekers, paranormal enthusiasts, and thrill seekers descend into its depths, armed with recording devices, journals, and open hearts. Yet few emerge unchanged, their minds imprinted with visions and sensations too vivid to dismiss as mere imagination. For those brave enough to venture inside, the promise of encountering one of its tormented spirits offers both fascination and terror. But as each new visitor steps beneath its whispering boughs, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to listen to the voices of the past? Or will they become another echo in the eternal chorus? The lost children of Juniper Ridge. Amidst the arid landscapes of New Mexico lies Juniper Ridge, a haunting expanse of desert forest where the spirits of children are said to wander eternally. Known locally as the Grove of Echoes, this sparse woodland has long been shrouded in tragedy and mystery, its rocky terrain bearing witness to untold suffering. Unlike other haunted forests cloaked in dense foliage and shadow, Juniper Ridge stands stark and exposed under the relentless sun, its skeletal trees casting jagged silhouettes against the horizon. Yet, it is precisely this desolation that amplifies the eeriness of its spectral inhabitants, the lost children whose laughter and cries reverberate through the canyon walls, reminding visitors of lives cruelly snatched away. The origins of Juniper Ridge's haunting legacy date back to the early 20th century, when the area served as a refuge for families fleeing economic hardship during the Dust Bowl era. Drawn by promises of work in nearby mines, settlers established makeshift camps amid the juniper trees, their hopes quickly dashed by harsh conditions and dwindling resources. Tragedy struck repeatedly as illness swept through the encampments, claiming the lives of countless children too weak to withstand the unforgiving environment. Burials were hasty affairs, conducted under cover of darkness to avoid scavengers and prying eyes. With no proper markers to denote gravesites, many bodies were left unclaimed, their tiny forms swallowed by the earth and forgotten by time. Local legends speak of a curse placed upon Juniper Ridge by a grieving mother named Elena Ortega, whose infant son perished during one particularly brutal winter. Consumed by rage and despair, Elena wandered into the forest clutching her child's lifeless body, vowing vengeance on anyone who dared disturb the sanctity of the land. According to oral tradition, she invoked ancient spirits to protect her son's resting place, inadvertently binding the souls of all deceased children to the grove. Since then, visitors report hearing faint giggles and playful chatter echoing through the trees. Comparing hauntings across the American West forests. When examining the haunted forests of the American West, from the oppressive darkness of Colorado's Black Forest to the melancholic groves of California's Suicide Woods and the echoing canyons of New Mexico's Juniper Ridge, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. Each forest, despite its unique characteristics, shares a commonality that binds it together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the miners driven mad in the Black Forest, the despairing souls of Suicide Woods, or the lost children of Juniper Ridge, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. The forests become vessels for these unresolved emotions, amplifying them through their natural acoustics and isolation. Another shared characteristic is the role of architecture. In this case, the layout and density of the forest itself, in amplifying paranormal activity. Dense canopies, labyrinthine trails, and jagged rock formations create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. These structural elements act as metaphors for the psychological barriers erected by those who suffered within their confines, trapping emotions such as anger, despair, and regret. It's no coincidence that many reported hauntings occur in spaces imbued with emotional significance: clearings where lives were lost, paths where journeys ended abruptly, or groves where rituals were performed. The physical geography of these forests mirrors the internal landscapes of those who haunt them, creating a feedback loop of sorrow and spectral energy. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering shadows, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing visitors to confront the unknown. The use of sound, a recurring element in stories from various haunted forests, adds another layer of psychological tension, as auditory hallucinations distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light, shadow, and sound becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each forest haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal mining practices embedded in the DNA of Colorado's Black Forest contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in California's Suicide Woods. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted forests transform from mere ecosystems into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each forest boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The psychology of fear. Why haunted forests captivate us? What is it about haunted forests that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the rustling leaves and whispering winds lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. Forests, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our primal instincts, stripped of modern comforts and control, relying entirely on our senses to navigate the wild. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our deepest fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of natural history, environmental design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. At the core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Forests exist in this liminal space, bridging civilization and wilderness, light and shadow, safety and danger. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, venturing into a haunted forest feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Environmental influences also play a significant role in shaping this atmosphere of dread. The dense canopies of forests block sunlight, creating an eternal twilight that distorts perception and heightens sensory awareness. Poor visibility, coupled with the echoing acoustics of trees and underbrush, magnifies ordinary sounds, a distant bird call, the snap of a twig, into potential threats. The labyrinthine layouts of older forests, with their hidden trails and concealed clearings, evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential ambush point, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight-or-flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences further amplify our fascination with haunted forests. Folklore and mythology, from indigenous traditions to European fairy tales, have long depicted forests as realms of mystery and peril. Stories of enchanted woods, cursed groves, and malevolent spirits lurking among the trees have been passed down through generations, embedding themselves in our collective consciousness. Media representations, from films like The Blair Witch Project to literature such as The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, have cemented the trope of the haunted forest as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about isolation, survival, and the fragility of human civilization. Haunted forests become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the unpredictability of nature, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the pursuit of progress. Moreover, haunted forests appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about the unknown, mortality, and the natural world. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours, camping trips, and paranormal investigations of haunted forests attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. As we bring this chilling journey through the haunted forests of the American West to a close, one truth becomes undeniable: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each rustling leaf, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Venture into one of the American West's haunted forests yourself. Walk the same trails where spirits are said to roam, stand in the groves where history's echoes reverberate, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken woodlands offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of centuries-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty clearing? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted forests, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive.